Thank you, Tim, and good morning, everybody. I am Anastasia Liberatos, and I'm the Group Recruitment Manager for Salmat. So today what I wanted to share with you was that journey and our story on how we actually transformed the way that we actually recruited and also the recruitment process within Salmat. Firstly, what I wanted to cover off is that so many people ask me, who is Salmat and what do you do? So we are an Australian organisation, an Australian company that started probably about 35 years ago. It was two friends who decided to form this company. It was Phil Salter and Peter Maddock, the Salter and the Maddock, thus the Salmat. And what we do is we actually partner with Australia's and New Zealand's leading brands. So we're behind the scenes. So we manage 6 billion multi-channel interactions. How do we do that? We do that via voice, direct mail, online, email and mobile. So for instance, direct mail, we actually deliver 18.3 million catalogues a week to Australian households. So when you're at home going through a catalogue, that's most likely have been produced by Salmat and delivered to your doorstep by Salmat. And with voice, our contact centres actually manage about 130 million customer interactions via voice, either by a contact centre or through automated interactions. Now on the weekend, well Sunday actually, it was the Logies. Now I'm pretty sure quite a few people in the room actually saw the Logies. Well, I do every year, and the reason as to why I do that is because I actually enjoy watching what everyone's wearing, so it's the fashion that I'm interested in. Well, Myer actually had a best dress competition, and you would have seen that there would have been a number or a text message that you could actually vote with. Well, it's Salmat that actually manages that competition on behalf of Myer. So we're quite diverse in what we actually do. So that's enough about Salmat, and I wanted to share now with you the transformation story and how that came about. Now, I always say to everyone, whether it be a peer or someone in my team or even a friend, you always need to have an end game. So you need to know what you want to achieve, make it simple, but also make it achievable. And for me, it was about, I wanted to ensure that we're constantly attracting that best talent into Salmat, and that we're not having to depend on agencies. We're constantly assessing our processes and also the way that we actually attract that talent, but evolving as well as the way that the industry is changing. So there was two things that I needed to do first, was sit back, evaluate the organisation, and then go into the revamp. So I mentioned just briefly as to what a few of the things that we actually do for our customers behind the scenes. So the first thing was the talent that was coming, that we needed to bring through the doors and into our business. So we had that bulk volume, the contact centres, but then we had specialised roles. So we would need to recruit for digital producers, mobile developers, network engineers, heads of divisions of sales and so on. So we looked after 2 divisions and a head office. We're located in 3 countries, but 32 locations, and there was 3 recruitment teams across those countries. So for me, it was like, okay, if a particular hiring manager was wanting to recruit a network engineer, say in Australia, were they getting the same service if they were going to recruit for that position in New Zealand and Manila? So we had to look at the skill set of the recruitment team. And from the findings was that we needed to revamp, we needed to evolve, and we needed to bring in the experience into the business. And that's probably why there was so much dependency on agency as well. So we needed to also introduce a talent brand. I think that I work at an organisation that's very unique. The culture's quite different, and I'll go into that a little bit later. So partnerships, did we have a business partnership with our stakeholders? Maybe with a few, but we really didn't hold much credibility, and it was really more of that's recruitment, they're a service provider. And then we needed to actually build that credibility and build that partnership, and that's when LinkedIn Recruiter came in for us. And then the biggest change piece was that agency engagement. So the first step was our talent acquisition teams. We recruit roughly about 3,500 positions per annum. So you can imagine how much work we're actually doing and how many roles we're recruiting for. So what we decided to do was split the functions. So we needed to bring in the experience of bulk volume recruiters who could run assessment centres but understood the urgency of filling a contact centre role. And then we needed to bring in specialised recruiters. At the time, our digital division that's where the biggest growth was happening. So we needed to go out to the market and bring in the recruiters that understood the digital landscape, but also understood how to recruit for IT roles. So that's how we built our teams. And then we brought in a team lead who was a generalist recruiter, but also was able to manage numerous recruiters in different disciplines. And we were quite lucky because we actually found somebody who actually had the call centre background and building of the assessment centres. So that was our first step. So we've restructured, we brought in some talent externally as well, and predominantly they were ex-agency recruiters that came into the business because they understood the hunt and the urgency of the roles to be filled.
Here at Salmat Finance.
Oops, I wasn't meant to play that. That's meant to pause, but that's okay. All right, the next thing that I wanted to show everybody was I talked about our culture and how unique I think Salmat is. I started in January 2012, and by February I'm in my office and it was Valentine's Day, and there comes these two cupids with balloons and chocolates, and they're handing it out to everyone in the office, and people are smiling and they're happy and thinking, okay, this is really nice, you know, it's engaging the workforce. A couple of months later, it's Easter. We have the Easter bunny coming along in the office, handing out chocolates. Once again, you know, there's laughter in the office, and we're thinking, okay, this is great. And then, you know, it was the Olympics that year as well, and all of a sudden there's these major competitions happening within the building. I'm located in Melbourne, so that's where the main call centre, the head office is for call centres. So, you know, there's various call centres who are actually competing, and then there's this awards night. People are dressed up, you know, as Greek goddesses and the theme of the Olympics. So it was like, wow, this is something that we need to share to people. So internally, the Salmat family knows what our culture is about, but how were we going to get that out to the public and to the passive talent that we wanted to attract into our organisation? So just after the awards night, what had happened was I was asked to take on an activity at the leadership conference, and I said, that's great. Do I get money to actually take this activity, or, you know, do I get some type of funding? And it was like, yes. I was like, excellent. So the task was that we split people up into their divisions or job function, and from there they had to come up with a clip that would sell Salmat, but also show how unique we were, and also be engaging, and that the recruitment team was now going to use these clips when we advertise, whether it be on our website or whether it be on our job boards. The one that you briefly just saw was the finance clip. And the reason as to why I wanted to share the finance clip is because when I think of finance, I think of people behind the desk and they're punching out numbers, and it's financials at the moment. So all that I keep on hearing is, Anastasia, you need to optimise, why are we spending so much money and what have you. But this is what they came up with.
Here at Salmat Finance, expect the unexpected. It's not just about the numbers. We love what we do and are passionate about it. We are individuals working together. We are agents of change. We can help take your career to the top. Come learn today so you can change tomorrow.
We want you!
Now, I loved that clip, and the reason being is that there's senior leaders in that clip. The then CFO is actually on the ground, and he's part of the O in you. The last gentleman you just saw, he's actually our company secretary. So we actually work really hard, but we actually have fun at work as well. And this was their personality coming out. And the feedback was, I was recruiting for a payroll manager at the time, and I put the clip on. And when I was interviewing, I said, so what is it? What attracted you to Salmat? And he said, to be honest with you, he goes, I was ready to make a move, but when I actually saw that clip, it was like, I want to be a part of that. So that's how our talent brand began. So, you know, we've restructured our team. We're defining what a talent brand was, and then the next step was this engagement agency agreement. So when I came into the organisation, with the bulk volume side of things, we weren't using agencies. We weren't doing a fantastic job, but we weren't using agencies. But when it came to our specialised roles, it was out of control. Every hiring manager was engaging an agency opposed to coming into the internal recruitment team. So the first thing that I had to do was actually place a disclaimer on our advertising, our external advertising, to let everybody know that we're no longer accepting any unsolicited CVs. You need to actually contact the group recruitment manager, and everything needed to come through to me. Yes, I did get bombarded. Yes, I was scared to pick up my mobile or my landline. I had every recruitment agency calling me names, companies that I'd never heard of either. So then we had a look at our agreements. So I liaised with managers and decided, you know, which agencies were we going to continue our partnership with, which ones we didn't know, where was the growth, which agencies specialised in those areas that when we did need to engage, that we had that true partnership. So we negotiated new terms and margins. So we know that agencies can vary. They can charge you anything from 10 all the way up to 20%. We decided as a company we wouldn't go higher. Shouldn't disclose, but it's not much higher than 11%. So we wouldn't go higher than that margin. So that was for permanent, and it was also for contractors. So the agencies who wanted to work with us did work with us. Those who didn't, unfortunately, we decided to partner with somebody else. Another thing that we did do was they needed now to sign our terms, and in those terms we had now put a clause in that an agency didn't have ownership over a candidate. So if they were engaged in a particular role and the candidate they introduced was successful, of course we would pay the fee. However, if they introduced a candidate, the candidate wasn't successful, that candidate 6, 7, 8 or 9 months down the track applies for a job with us directly, we wouldn't be liable for a fee because we haven't engaged them on that role, and we do not believe ethically that anyone has ownership on a candidate. So those two things were the biggest change for us in our terms. And the next process was we had to update our recruitment procedure and educate our hiring managers that there was a new process in place. So I'm fortunate that I report into the head of people and culture, and he's a big advocate of change and also a big advocate of not spending money. So I had his buy-in, and he was at the executive leadership team, so he got the ELT buy-in as well. So typically in any organisation, a hiring manager raises a job, the job lands into the recruitment manager, we then allocate as to who's going to source that role, the recruiter liaises with hiring managers, sourcing begins. Now if a hiring manager now wants to request agency engagement, it's no longer that they just go to their GM or their executive general manager. The head of the division now has to actually approve that spend. So what I do is I send out an email to, could be a CEO, and I say hypothetically, hi Dave, John would like to engage agency X. The potential cost to your division is $15,000 or $20,000. Are you happy to proceed? 99.9% of the time, now that there's a dollar figure to it, the head of the division will say no. Before it was like, can I use an agency? Oh, okay, go for it. But no one really knew what the spend was. So then from there, what happens if the head of the division says yes, we want to proceed, then I liaise with the agency or the recruiter liaises with the agency. We have the internal recruiter and the agency sourcing for the same role. We never give out our role exclusively to an agency, and that's where the competition starts. So we're actually competing with an external company. So yes, changing the way that our process was running, bringing in the experience and the talent within our business to actually recruit these roles. Yes, we were filling them before an agency, but there were times that we weren't. So we needed to be able to hunt the market. And what we decided at that stage was I needed to put a business case together and get some funding for a LinkedIn recruiter. And that's where we brought in LinkedIn Recruiter. So what we found was we invested into LinkedIn Recruiter, we sourced X amount of jobs, we had our return of investment. So one LinkedIn Recruiter was costing us less than what a potential engagement for an agency was. So the next step was that we actually assessed. We did surveys. Our hiring managers were saying, do you know what, you are doing a great job. You're presenting the right talent that we're wanting. Our time to hire is being reduced. Your costs are going down, agency spend's reducing, we're introducing a talent brand, but we knew that we had to go one step further. We knew that this wasn't it for us. So that's when, once again, I needed to go and ask for more money, because that's when I wanted to actually purchase the careers page for LinkedIn. And the reason was, yes, LinkedIn Recruiter, we could search the globe, but we wanted the careers page, we wanted the traffic drivers, we wanted to be specific as to which geography, industry that we were targeting to. We wanted the Work With Us campaign. So I got the sign off, and yes, we did this, and I was so excited. And Becky, who was my account manager at the time, was absolutely wonderful, and she was so patient with me. And the next step was, okay, let's go for it. I was like, okay, what do you mean let's go for it? Well, you need to design your careers page. And I was like, okay. So I went on and had a look at competitors. I had a look at Apple and Google, and I thought, oh, wow, Google, you just want to work for Google because the word says Google, but we weren't a brand. Remember, we're behind the scenes, and you know, I'd like to say we're Australia's best kept secret because we're doing all this work behind. So our people became our passion. So what you saw was every careers page that we had was specific to the industry we were targeting, but it also had quotes on there, what they loved about Salmat. There was clips on there from, you know, people talking about, you know, their career progression and why they had been with Salmat for so long. And so we were really happy with the way this was going. And just before the careers page came on board, I was liaising with the Women in Leadership Council, and they wanted to put a clip together as to let internal staff know about, you know, career progression and retaining talent within the business. And I said, well, let's take that one step further, and let's actually market that outside of the company so everybody's aware of, you know, opportunities for women in leadership roles and the progression that they do have. So we came up with this, and this is one of our main clips on our
What
LinkedIn
I love about
careers
Salmat
page.
is the encouragement, training and support that they provide.
They recognise that men and women are not the same, but they give us an equal opportunity to climb the corporate ladder.
I started as entry-level account coordinator, and over the past 13 years I've worked my way up.
I've been assigned a mentor when I first began at Salmat, so I had someone to guide me through my career.
For me, it's about potential and being in an environment that helps you reach your potential.
I think women bring to the industry a unique set of insights and intelligence.
No matter who you are in Salmat, what division you're from or what level you are, you have a voice.
Prior to falling pregnant, I raised my concerns about the gaps within the paid maternity Salmat policy. They've addressed it since, and they've made a lot of improvements. And now that I am pregnant, I'm very grateful for that.
The parental leave scheme that Salmat introduced last year was a great way to encourage talent to retain in the workforce.
Salmat have been unbelievable.
It gives me a bit of flexibility.
I also work some days remotely from home in school hours.
Start early in the morning so that I can leave at 3 so I can go and pick up my kids.
There's a very friendly side to the business. There's lots of people that have been in the business a very long time.
Although it's, you know, changed and morphed and everything else, it's still essentially the same culture.
You know you're in a good place when you want to come to work every day, and the co-workers have become your friends.
We have a lot of fun. I laugh every day in the office.
When Alana joined the company, she brought in her Justin Bieber doll.
Baby, baby, oh.
You love Justin Bieber?
So the greatest achievement I think I've had at Salmat is to be able to work with a great team of people, to build the business and to grow it threefold in 1 year.
The Women in Leadership Council was formed a couple of years ago to promote women in leadership.
I was involved in the launch of the Aspire Awards programs in 2011, and it was an idea that we generated in the Women in Leadership Council.
My advice to a female entering the workforce is to never, never, never give up.
Do it with conviction and presence.
And be confident in the skills that you have.
The sky's the limit. Girl power.
So our clips, we always want to make them more personable. So we want to make them real, and we want people to feel comfortable and smile and think, you know what, I want to be part of that organisation. So we're really, as you probably have noticed, we're really big into the clips at the moment. So, you know, that's how we're getting our brand out. So how were we tracking with the careers page? And so over the last 12 months, what we've seen is that we've had, you know, over 6,400 visitors to our careers page. We're averaging about 370 applications monthly. And it was probably about November, December 2013, that's when we decided to actually switch off one of our job boards. So we no longer needed the type of candidates that we were getting through this job board, because LinkedIn was actually providing the talent that we needed. So we talk a lot about Talent Brand Index, and for us this is, you know, we think we are very successful, even though our Talent Brand Index is only at 24% now, but that's been in 12 months. And you know, it's been a huge journey to get there, and we think that we're successful because we've seen, you know, 137% growth in our Talent Brand Index, 307% growth in the amount of members that are engaging with us. So they're following our company, they're following our careers page, they're researching, they're connecting with our employees, they're actually applying for jobs. So we're very proud with that. And this is just a snapshot of what's happened since March 2013. So I just wanted to bring this all together and just let everyone know that how this transformation actually started was from really sitting back and assessing how the organisation was operating. And we had a look at the skill set within the team, so we had to restructure. We needed to actually get our culture out to the public, or to the potential talent that could come into our organisation. So we had to define what that was. So remember, for us, our people is our passion. We're not a brand, so our brand is our talent. So we produce clips, and there's so many clips of real people in real jobs every day, and what they do and why they've actually stayed with Salmat, and what has it offered to them. Our agency agreement, that was the biggest piece, and the way that we actually changed how a manager could engage an agency. It was no longer up to them. They had to get the approval from the CEO or head of a division with an actual number in there, what that cost would be potentially. We brought in LinkedIn Recruiter. I still remember the day that I filled my first role with LinkedIn, and absolutely ecstatic. I think I screamed through the office, and when they actually accepted. We then brought in LinkedIn Careers page to take us that one step further, and that whole piece is what's actually gotten us to 90% reduction in agency spend. So, but that's all happened while we've built a business partnership with our actual managers now. So we're invited to the table. I'm invited by the heads of the divisions, and they let me know what our strategy is. They let me know what our growth area is. So it's no longer just a proactive, reactive recruitment where, you know, you get a job card in your job board and off you go. It's about, we now know what's coming up. And we have a lot of managers within the business that are very supportive now. So when they do receive any agency CVs or anything like that, they'll actually send back and say, no thanks, or they'll forward them off to me. And we've got lots of heads of, in the different divisions that are really supportive, like my boss, and we have the head of People and Culture in New South Wales as well, and he's very supportive of this process. So we used to spend, I'll put $1 million behind what we used to spend, and we've reduced that down to 90% in 2 years. So that's my story, well, our story at Salmat. So thank you so much for your time.